All right, welcome to your very own deep dive. You sent in some super interesting research on cancer treatment, and I'm really excited to jump in with you.
Yeah, this stuff looks promising.
So, we're going to be talking about a potential breakthrough using the body's natural cell death process
Mm-hmm.
to kind of make cancer cells self-destruct.
Exactly.
You gave us a Stanford Medicine News article,
Right.
an excerpt from the actual paper in Science,
Mm-hmm.
and even some comments from Hacker News.
Oh,
So it's like
wow.
we have a front row seat here
Yeah,
to the whole scientific
I
process,
like that.
getting perspectives from researchers, and then also, the community online.
It's cool to see what people are thinking about it too.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting is that instead of attacking cancer directly,
Right.
this research is all about how to use a system our bodies already have.
Yeah, so instead of like going in with guns blazing, it's
hmm
more like we're trying to outsmart the cancer.
Okay, let's break this down a bit. So the Stanford article called it apoptosis, which is essentially our body's way of recycling cells.
You can think of it like a cleanup crew working 24/7, removing old or damaged cells.
Okay.
Every single day, our bodies get rid of something like 60 billion cells through this process.
Seriously, 60 billion every day.
Yep, it's pretty amazing. And the best part is it's incredibly precise. It only targets the cells that need to go.
Wow, that's a lot more than I expected.
It is. And unlike chemo or radiation, there's no damage to the healthy cells around it.
So there's no, what was that term? Collateral damage?
Exactly, no collateral damage.
That's incredible. So 60 billion cells a day. And this is all happening without us even knowing.
Pretty much. Apoptosis is just like a fundamental process for a healthy body. It's super crucial for development, a strong immune system, even preventing cancer in the first place.
That's pretty amazing, I gotta say.
It is. Most of the cells that are getting eliminated are blood and gut cells, which are constantly getting replaced anyway.
Makes sense. Wow, our bodies are way more complex than I ever thought. So how does this cellular recycling even connect to, fighting cancer?
Well, that's where this new research gets really, really interesting. The team at Stanford has developed something they call a molecular glue.
Oh yeah, I remember reading about that. But it's not really glue, right?
Not at all, no. It's actually a specially designed molecule.
The Stanford article described it as, I think it said a tiny molecule that can bind to proteins.
You got it. And it's designed to link two specific proteins together, proteins that wouldn't normally interact at all.
Interesting.
One is called BCL6, and it's often mutated in a type of lymphoma.
Okay.
The other is CDK9, and this one helps to activate genes.
So they're sticking these two proteins together. What does that actually do? What's the purpose?
Well, that's what makes this so clever. See, instead of shutting down an oncogene,
Right, which is what a lot of targeted therapies try to do.
exactly. But this molecular glue, it actually turns on a cell death pathway that cancer cells normally suppress.
Oh, wow. So they're kind of using the cancer's own defenses against it.
Exactly. The Stanford article called it flipping the script on cancer. It basically turns something that cancer needs to survive into a weapon.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a really promising approach. It targets cancer's dependence on certain processes to survive and then uses that dependence to, well, trigger its destruction.
So what about this BCL6? What role does it play?
Oh, that's a good question. In normal, healthy immune cells, BCL6 is like a protector. It helps them survive all the stress of mutating while they're busy fighting off invaders.
Okay.
But in lymphoma, the mutated BCL6, it sits near genes that actually control cell death, and it keeps them turned off.
So it's like a kill switch that's been disabled in cancer cells.
Exactly. But this molecular glue, it brings CDK9 to the site, forcing those cell death genes back on, but specifically in those lymphoma cells.
So it's like hitting the reset button on those cancer cells and forcing them to self-destruct.
You got it.
That is so cool. And the results, like both the Stanford article and the Science paper mentioned, were impressive.
They were.
Highly effective in killing lymphoma cells in the lab.
Very effective, and the research also showed no signs of toxicity in healthy mice.
So no nasty side effects.
Not so far, at least in the mice. However, there was some B cell depletion.
So it did kill off some of the B cells.
Yes, but it's important to remember this is still really early research.
Right. Both the Stanford article and the Science paper make sure to emphasize that testing in mice with actual lymphoma is still ongoing.
Yes, and human trials are still a long way off.
Got it. So cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic, for sure.
It's interesting because the Hacker News comments that you sent, there was this fascinating mix of excitement and then also, some skepticism.
Right, right.
Some people were like so enthusiastic about this whole new approach.
Yeah,
Others were a little more cautious, which I guess makes sense.
of course, that's understandable. It's good to have a balanced view.
Oh, absolutely. And there was one comment I remember that mentioned existing cancer treatments that also trigger apoptosis, like BCL2 inhibitors, like venetoclax.
Yeah, that's a good point. There are already treatments out there that use the same basic principle.
So how is this new approach any different then?
Well, this BCL6-CD-K9 combination, it seems to be a lot more targeted. It's like it specifically goes after this type of lymphoma and a particular kind of B cell.
Oh, I see.
And that could mean fewer side effects compared to some of the broader acting treatments.
Makes sense.
And speaking of side effects, there were some Hacker News users who brought up a serious condition, tumor lysis syndrome.
Oh, yeah, I saw those comments too.
Yeah, and those are definitely valid concerns. The researchers, they are aware of all the potential side effects, tumor lysis syndrome included,
Right.
and they're very carefully monitoring for those in all the further testing.
Okay, good to know. And, the science paper also pointed out that this BCL6, it doesn't just act on one cell death gene,
Right, right.
multiple ones.
Yes, that's actually a really crucial detail.
Oh, how so?
So by activating like multiple death signals at the same time, it could make it a lot harder for the cancer cells to develop resistance,
Ah, interesting.
which is a huge problem with a lot of the current
So
therapies.
it's kind of like a multi-pronged attack
Yeah,
that stops the cancer from finding a way to, like, escape.
exactly. It's like cutting off all its escape routes.
I'm already fascinated by all this, and we
Yeah.
barely scratched the surface. What else can you tell us about, like, the implications of this approach? What could it mean for, the future of cancer treatment?
Yeah, there are definitely some really big implications here.
What stands out to you so far?
I think, honestly, it's just, the elegance of this approach.
Right.
Instead of just brute force, they're actually using the cancer cell's own programming, like
Mhm.
turning it against itself.
It's like a cellular level spy mission or something.
Uh-huh. That's a great way to put it.
Right.
And it really highlights the shift in how we're thinking about cancer treatment now.
How so?
Well, instead of just viewing cancer as like this foreign enemy that
Mm.
we have to destroy, we're actually starting to learn how to reprogram its behavior.
Oh, I see.
It's almost like turning a double agent back to our side,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
like hacking into the cancer cell's operating system
Right?
and rewriting the code.
I love that analogy. And the
Hmm.
potential benefits, I mean, they're huge.
Yeah.
Think about the side effects of chemo and radiation.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
can be brutal,
Definitely.
but if we can, harness the body's own mechanisms,
Right.
it could completely change how we treat cancer.
Absolutely. You're spot on. This research, it offers this path toward a more precise
Mm.
and potentially less toxic way to just
Mhm.
get rid of those cancer cells altogether.
And if we go back to those multiple death signals you were talking about before,
Yes.
that could be the key to actually overcoming drug resistance, which
Yeah.
is a major challenge right now.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a huge problem with so many of the current therapies.
It's like they found a way to outmaneuver the cancer's, what do you call it? Its ability to adapt
Mm-hmm.
and evolve.
You got it.
I can already see the headlines. Scientists turn cancer's survival instinct against itself.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But like we talked about earlier,
Right.
it's crucial to stay cautiously optimistic here.
Of course.
We need to see how these lab findings actually translate
Right.
to real-world clinical settings.
The science paper made that point very clear.
Yeah.
Human trials are still a long way off,
A long way off, yeah.
and there's a lot more research to be done.
Absolutely.
So it's not like a universal cure then.
Right. It's not a magic bullet, unfortunately.
Okay.
Even within lymphoma, there are all these different subtypes.
Mm-hmm.
And we need more research to see how effective this approach would be across all those variations.
So maybe not a magic bullet, but still a really significant breakthrough for some types of cancer.
I think so.
And, just the fact that it uses the body's own processes, that's pretty remarkable.
It is. It is.
I feel like we're seeing like the beginning of a new era in cancer treatment.
It's definitely a shift in thinking.
How so?
It's not just about trying to destroy cancer cells anymore.
Hmm.
It's about really understanding their mechanisms
Right.
and using that knowledge to, manipulate them
Oh, interesting.
to our advantage.
It's not just about destruction. It's about like control
Right.
and manipulation at a molecular level.
Exactly.
And that opens up so many possibilities.
It does. It really does. It makes you wonder, could similar molecular glue strategies be developed for other types of cancer?
Oh, that's a good question. So if it works for lymphoma, Could it, like, be adapted to target, I don't know, breast cancer or lung cancer?
It's certainly possible. I mean, it's worth exploring, for
Wow.
sure.
Wow.
This research could lead to a whole new class of cancer therapies
Right.
based on, manipulating those processes that are unique to cancer cells.
And, it's not just limited to cancer either, right?
No, not at all.
This idea of using molecular glue to, like, control cellular processes,
Right.
it could have implications for other diseases too.
Absolutely. Think about autoimmune diseases,
Okay.
where the immune system is actually attacking the body's own
Right,
cells,
right.
or neurodegenerative diseases like
Yeah.
Alzheimer's,
Mm.
where specific cell populations are affected.
Yeah.
Could we develop molecular glues to either correct those processes or
Or
protect the vulnerable cells?
so it's like we're developing this whole new set of tools
Yeah.
for medicine and moving beyond just treating symptoms
Right.
to actually getting at the root causes of disease
Mhm.
at a cellular level.
It's a really exciting time to be following all of this research.
I completely agree. This whole deep dive has been mind-blowing.
I know, it's amazing stuff.
I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Me too.
What does this mean for the future of medicine?
Yeah.
It really does feel like we're on the verge of something big here,
Oh, absolutely.
like a paradigm shift in how we think about, like, treating diseases.
Yeah, this research really opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
We've talked about apoptosis, the molecular glue strategy,
Mm-hmm.
all the potential applications.
Yeah.
What does this all mean for the future of medicine in general?
I think what we're seeing is this convergence
Okay.
of all these different fields.
Okay.
You've got biology, chemistry, even computer science,
Yeah.
all coming together to develop these incredibly precise tools
Right.
for manipulating the very building blocks of life.
It's like we're entering this age of, like, molecular engineering,
Exactly.
where we can actually reprogram cells
Mm-hmm.
to behave in a specific
It's
way.
incredible, isn't it?
It's mind-blowing. But with all this power, there's also, a lot of responsibility.
Oh, absolutely.
As we gain more control over these cellular processes,
Right.
we need to think really carefully about the implications.
For sure.
Even the Hacker News comments brought up some of these concerns.
Oh, yeah. What were some of the things people were saying?
There were definitely some worries about unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Like, what if these molecular glues end up, targeting healthy cells?
That's a valid concern. I mean, there's always that risk with any new treatment.
Right.
But I think it just highlights how important thorough testing is
Mm-hmm.
and ethical considerations as these technologies are developed.
So finding that balance
Totally.
between pushing the boundaries of innovation,
Right.
but also making sure that it's safe
Absolutely.
for patients.
Patient safety always has to come first.
Absolutely. And, it's not just about the science itself.
Sure.
We also have to think about, like, accessibility and affordability.
Oh, for sure. These cutting-edge treatments can be incredibly expensive,
Yeah.
both to develop and to produce.
It's a big challenge,
It is.
but one we definitely need to address.
Absolutely. We can't let these incredible scientific breakthroughs become, just another privilege for the wealthy.
Exactly. Everyone should have access to these advancements.
I completely agree.
So where do we go from here? What are the next steps in this research?
Well, the most immediate next step is to continue testing in animal models
Okay.
to really get a better understanding of the safety and effectiveness.
Right.
And if those trials are successful, then it would move on to human clinical trials.
That's when it gets really exciting.
It does. And that's also where public awareness and support become even more important.
So making sure our elected officials understand the importance of investing in this kind of research,
Exactly.
advocating for more funding.
Yes, advocating for increased funding for scientific research.
Mm.
That's one of the best ways to help accelerate the development of these, potentially life-saving therapies.
And I guess supporting organizations that are working to make these treatments more affordable and accessible.
Absolutely, that's crucial as well.
That feels like we're on the cusp of something truly transformative in medicine.
I think so too.
And it's been amazing to be a part of this conversation, to learn about all this.
It's been a pleasure sharing this with you.
This deep dive has been truly eye-opening.
I agree.
It's given us all, a lot to think about.
Hopefully it sparks some curiosity in our listeners as well.
If you want to learn more about this research,
Or any other groundbreaking stuff happening in science and technology.
head over to our website.
We'll have links to all the sources we talked about.
And remember, knowledge is power.
The more we understand about these advancements, the better equipped we are to advocate for progress.
So keep asking questions, keep the conversation going.
And let's work together to create a healthier future for everyone.
Absolutely. Until next time, stay curious.